The year is 2011. I think Sony is hosting its yearly press conference at the E3 video game convention. And then the chairman of Sony steps onto the stage and he unveils to the world Sony's newest portable console, the PlayStation Vita! When this thing first came out, I always saw it as one of those items of luxury. Like a Ferrari or something, where I was like, man, that looks super cool, but there's no possible way I could ever afford that. But I actually did get one. Just about a month ago. And in the short time I've had it, it's honestly become my favorite portable console ever. I even like it better than the Nintendo Switch. So going back in time a little bit, Sony released the Vita's older brother, the PlayStation Portable, or PSP, in 2004, and it was received really well. I had one and it was great. I had a lot of fun with it growing up. However, hoping for a repeat success, Sony released a sequel to the PSP, the PS Vita, in 2011 in Japan and 2012 everywhere else. And despite it being better in every way, nobody bought the poor thing. Everyone would be clamoring to get a Nintendo 3DS or a Switch, and the Vita would just sit on the store shelves all alone, until finally Sony gave it the boot just last year.
Nobody loves me. Nobody.
It's okay, little Vita. I like you. Tell me why. I'll tell you. So first off, I really like how this thing is built. As you can tell, I have a pair of big meaty claws! So using smaller devices is a bit of a no-no. The PSP has some heft to it, but it's also kind of small, so handling it for long periods of time is kind of uncomfortable. The Nintendo Switch fits in my hands pretty comfortably, however good luck trying to get it in your pocket. I know there's a smaller, more portable version, but like, if you're wearing a pair of jeans, do you really think that's gonna be comfortable? The only realistic way to carry it around would be to put it in some kind of a carrying case, but that kind of sends out a message saying, hey, I'm holding a $400 piece of hardware, feel free to rob me! But the PS Vita feels just right. It's got a good size, a good weight, it fits snug in my pocket, and it feels wonderful in my hands. All the buttons are really clicky, at least they are on mine, and I find that rather satisfying. And while the PSP's analog stick had this weird, circly thingy, the PS Vita has two actual analog sticks and they feel pretty good. About as nice as the Nintendo Switch's Joy-Cons, outside of Joy-Cons sometimes having a mind of their own. Open your account settings. No! Open your account settings. No! Open your account. No! It's also got a start and select button, and a rather cheeky PlayStation button. It has two cameras, one on the front and one on the back. There's a 5-inch touchscreen on the front, and even one on the back, which honestly surprised me when I got it. I mean, it's kind of awkward to use, but hey, it's a pretty cool feature. I have no complaints. The cameras on the Vita are, less than perfect, but it's acceptable, I guess. It's mostly meant for AR games, not taking professional family pictures at JCPenney's. Another thing I love about the Vita is the interface. In comparison, the Switch interface is very sleek and professional and minimalistic. And while it's never given me any trouble,
that's just too boring.
I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I like my game console menus to be colorful, animated, and magical. And the PS Vita, by contrast, is a bubbly wonderland. It's got these bubble icons for everything, it runs really smoothly, has different backgrounds for each menu, and has this super chill music. Ah, very nice. And now we move on to the games. Okay, so it's no contest. The Switch has the PS Vita beat when it comes to games. It delivers console games on the go, which is a rather tough act to follow. And even though these days, the Vita's game library mostly consists of indie games and those weird anime games, the Vita does have some pretty wonderful gems, and interestingly enough, it also delivers some console games on the go, years before the Switch was even thought up. For instance, something that intrigued me about the Vita was that it apparently had all 4 Sly Cooper games on it. Sly Cooper's one of my favorite game series, it's just wonderful. Anyway, when I got the games, I thought they were gonna be really crappy, slimmed down versions of them, but I got the full thing. I mean, the graphics and sound were a little poopy, but it was still Sly Cooper on the go, and that was just amazing. And at the time of recording this, the PS Vita also has this app that lets you remotely play your PS4 games on it, provided your internet connection is good enough. And yeah, it's kind of inconvenient compared to the Switch, but hey, it's something. Now on to the next category, streaming. Contrary to the Switch, which at the moment only has YouTube and Hulu and no Netflix, the PS Vita only has Netflix and no Hulu or YouTube. I mean, it used to, but not anymore, unfortunately. However, unlike the Switch, the PS Vita has this nifty little web browser that's honestly really usable nearly 10 years later. And it's got an HTML5 player in it, so YouTube works just fine, provided you don't mind taking an extra couple of steps. He's roly-poly-oly, he's made of guacamole. Holy ravioli, he's a moly-schmoly-doly. Hooray! It's kind of a shame that these streaming apps don't exist for the Vita anymore, cause this screen is seriously fantastic. I have the PS Vita model 1101. I say this because this model has an OLED screen, while all the newer 2000 models have an LED screen. I don't have one of the newer ones, so I can't directly compare them, but this screen is just beautiful. It's bright and colorful and vibrant and just an absolute delight to look at. In fact, I've deleted all my videos off my phone and put them all on my Vita. It's seriously that nice to look at. The camera does not do it justice. And now to our final topic, backwards compatibility, or more specifically, the Switch's lack thereof. The Switch does have a fair library of NES and SNES games you can play. However, it requires a subscription, and I can't stand subscription-based gaming. Plus, what I really want is to play GameCube games on this thing. I want to play Sonic Adventure 2 on the toilet, dang it!
I'm late for school!
However, the PS Vita's got you covered when it comes to backwards compatibility. More specifically, it's feasible with the use of Homebrew. And I might have been stretching the truth a little bit when I said that nobody liked the PS Vita. I mean, it never did particularly well in sales, but one of the reasons I bought the Vita was that it seemed to have recently earned this following among tech enthusiasts and hackers. This thing seemed to be a darn good emulation machine, and I wanted to try it out. And what do you know? It is! And just to let you know, the games I'm going to be showcasing here were all legally ripped by me off of my own physical copies. Don't download ROMs. It's illegal and wrong! Anyway, the PS Vita is actually a really good emulation system. For instance, there's a PSP emulator called Adrenaline, and it's absolutely flawless. It even runs PSP Homebrew apps, which is just awesome. I have yet to have any problems with it. The Vita has a lot of great homebrew apps, such as a download manager for the web browser, a plugin updater, a DVD screensaver, and lots of emulators too, such as RetroArch, which emulates who knows how many systems, and yeah, it all works pretty well in my opinion. So that's the PS Vita. Just to be clear, I'm not hating on the Switch at all. I think it's a wonderful console with loads of excellent games, but I just find myself loving the PS Vita the more I play with it. However, I can also see why it didn't sell so well. For one thing, Sony made a rather questionable decision about the Vita's storage. So by itself, the Vita only has 1 GB of storage. The newer versions have 4, but that's still not very much. And the only way to up your storage was to buy these memory cards made specifically for the Vita, and they were, not cheap. The Vita was around $200 on its own, and if I had to fork over another $100 just for memory, I'd probably give it a hard pass myself. However, if your Vita is hacked, you can work around that. My main method of storage is this adapter with a 128GB microSD card inside, which costed about $30 total. The PS Vita really is one amazing little son of a gun. And like other systems like the Sega Dreamcast, it wasn't much loved back then going strictly by sales numbers, but now people are truly seeing its potential and giving it a lot of love many years later, and that to me is just plain delightful.